In episode 10.5 of Unshuffled, we check out the most recent release from Pallbearer. It's called Mind Burns Alive. Let's have a listen. Welcome, listeners. Welcome to Unshuffled. I'm your co-host, Matt, and joining me from Japan is my man, Scotty D, and he, as well as introducing himself, is going to also tell us which album we're doing this week. Take it away, Scotty.
Well, hi, morning there, Matt, and listeners. I'm Scott. That was as far as my introduction. The album we're doing today is Mind Burns Alive, the fifth album by Pallbearer. So I think we've got 4 years since the last one. I believe the one prior to this was 2020. This one's 2024.
That's right.
May 17th, 2024. This one was self-produced, which I think maybe their second or third album was also self-produced, but the last one was Randall Dunn, if I'm remembering. I'm pulling this all up from my memory bank here.
Wow.
How am I doing? So far, so good.
Amazing.
Label, we're still on Nuclear Blast. I think this is the second album on Nuclear Blast. Recorded at Fellowship Hall in Little Rock, Arkansas. The album artwork I have no information on, but it's kind of a cool, I like it. It's just sort of like a black background with that little sort of, looks like a flame maybe. I see you have it in front of you.
Yeah, I've got the CD, and it does have that beautiful, just a flame in the darkness on the front. It's written in very sort of deep crimson on a black background, so the writing is incredibly hard to read for my aging eyes, especially in the light tonight. But I can tell you the cover photograph is called, oh man, this is hard to read, Falling Through, oh God. Come on. My first bit of feedback for the band would be to change your font.
The feedback from the listeners are we don't want to hear you guys aging.
I can't read the damn thing. Anyway, it's a photo. We'll put a link in the show notes. Yeah, I think it's their first time they've used a photo. Normally, it's one of the band members that's done those paintings.
Yeah.
On the previous albums, I really like the one with the kind of stone giant thing.
Yeah. It's the drummer, right? That did the paintings.
Yeah, this is your real memory, listeners.
He's been demoted.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he just got sick of it. But anyway, I quite like this image. Yeah, there's this one particular song that this image matches up very well to, which we can talk about a little bit later. But yeah, and you mentioned the self-recording, self-producing thing. That came up a couple of times in interviews with the band. So, and I think having their own space to record in meant that they could kind of do things on their own time. And I also believe this is the first time for some time that all the band members have lived in the same city, because this is back in their hometown, right? Little Rock, Arkansas, the studio.
Oh, is that where they're from?
I think so. Anyway, it's their hometown now, at least, and they were all living reasonably close to each other. They were able to communicate a lot more and share their ideas, and they also had the time to take their time getting things right. The vocalist in particular, I think, spoke about the fact that he could do his vocals away from the others, and he didn't feel pressured. He didn't have the other band members sitting around going, hurry up and finish your take. And that pressure of being on the clock and having to pay for your studio time was gone, and he could just really isolate himself and get those vocals exactly how he wanted them. So certainly I think this setting influenced the album. No more thoughts on the packaging other than change of font, but it does have the lyrics. Again, almost impossible to read those, but we'll put a link to the lyrics as we always do in the show notes. Some fairly consistent lyrical themes, which again we'll get into when we do the songs, which we will do in a moment. Just a reminder, listeners, if you haven't listened to the album yet, you should go and listen to it now. You'll find it on whatever streaming platform you use, if that's how you do things. And, 6 songs. Won't take long, will it? 6 songs. And come back to us when you've done that, because this conversation will mean a lot more to you if you've listened to the album. And it's like all the albums we pick, pretty much, almost. It's pretty good too. So go and do that. So we're going to talk about 4 songs in particular each. Our categories are opener, starting track, first track on the album, our killer, our best track, our grower, the song that grew on us over time, and the filler, if there is any, which sometimes there isn't. But we'll see. We'll see, Scotty. Why don't you start us off with your thoughts on the opening track?
Okay, real quick though, should I finish with the lineup?
Why not do that? Yeah.
All right, I'll just the lineup hasn't changed. It's the same. Okay. It's Brett Campbell, Devin Holt, Joseph D. Rowland, and Mark Lairley, and then we've got a Norman Williamson on saxophone, and I'm going to talk about him later. All right, yes, opening track, where the light fades. So something, this track is to me, it sounded vastly different than anything they've done before from sort of the very beginning. And there was kind of it reminded me in some way of Rush, and I don't know why, and I can't even pinpoint a specific song, but there was some like a Rush vibe that I kept picking up from it. The opening, he's got these effects on his voice, which sort of gives it this surreal atmosphere, and it's kind of really only the first couple of lines that he's got this effect. The only way that I could describe the opening was very pretty. It's very pretty. And as an opening track, it does a really good job of setting the tone for the album. There's the slow tempos, the introspective lyrics that sort of, maybe I miss, but the themes of kind of mental fragility, isolation that kind of go throughout the album. There's an emotional weight to the quiet and the cleanness. The song's a lot more clean than I think anything else they've done before. It definitely reads or gives sort of that indication that this album is headed in a different direction.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting that you mentioned Rush. I think the singer, I did read the name Rush in some of my readings for this album. I think they might have come up in an interview at one point. So they certainly have some proggy tendencies. Some of the bands that came to mind for me, though, was sort of in terms of that gentleness of it and the sort of introspective nature of it, was sort of post-rock bands. Kerrang! In their review said Mogwai. That's not the first one that came to mind for me, but I was thinking of bands like, there's an Australian band I really like called We Lost the Sea, who I can recommend, but even like bigger, more well-known bands like Russian Circles, and that sort of orchestral, grandiose style. And yeah, you're right about the sort of openness of it, the space, the gentleness of it, especially in that opening. And as a vocalist, he's so exposed on in that opening, far more than he's ever been. Like, think back to that first album, this crushing doom, where his vocals are sort of way off in the background.
Yeah.
And now you've got this, where it's basically him on the stage while the band is just waiting to come in.
Yeah.
So incredibly powerful. And really gutsy, you know. Like, so that to me was a highlight. And yeah, I love the opening. It does build up to something heavy very patiently, and we've become accustomed to their patience over their first 4 albums. They are an incredibly patient band. They're willing to let a song play out slowly and just slowly lead up to the to the conclusion. So there is a weighty and satisfying conclusion on this. That bit near the end, the feel my head going under bit, I feel that's really cathartic, very a big dramatic way to finish the song. So, that emotional arc of this song makes it a great opener. It also, Scotty, and I'm not doing this to cut down on my workload, but this is my killer as well. I think it's the first time I've had the opener and the killer is the same track from memory. But yeah, I just couldn't go past it as the best track on the album either, even though, and we'll talk about some of the others, there are a lot of good songs on this. This was my favourite right from the start right to now. So I get out of having to do a killer.
You do, you sure do. All right, well, I'll get to my killer then. Good. My killer is actually the next track, Mine Burns Alive. This, in fact, as when I'd sent you the message that I was ready to go, and you're like, I need about 10 minutes. I was like, perfect. That's enough time for me to listen to Mine Burns Alive again. So I did.
Well, you could have even listened to Endless Place in that time.
I could not have. I would have needed 38 more seconds. All right, so Mine Burns Alive. It's got that sort of, they've got that, and I don't know enough to know what they're dropping their tuning down to. It's dropped something, right? I don't know if they're going beyond C into like B. I don't know if there is a drop A. I've never heard. Whatever. It's dropped something, and there's like this crunge that comes with it. Is the best word that I could, because I don't know what other word I would use to describe it. And the way the guitar kind of comes in and cuts through, and there's that sort of like dual arpeggiated guitars, or kind of whatever it is they're doing there. And then it dramatically quiets down when the vocals come in. It feels like a fall, like it's just like the perfect autumn song for me too. It sort of even just gave me that kind of vibe. But what I really like was the way that the lyrics work with the dynamics. The verses are quiet, and they sort of establish this tension of a building fire, right? It even says, a glaze of sweat and kerosene will glisten like the rain. I'm going to go back to the word pretty, which I don't use often. And then the chorus kicks in, and like it just kind of kicks in when he screams. When he doesn't even scream, he just sort of like determinedly says, my mind is ignited, right? And it goes right back into that. And then when it goes back to the verse again, the sort of the sounds of what he's saying gets softer, the graceful notes, the sacred smoke. It's got like that sibilance, right? And it just kind of everything softens and then kicks in again with the chorus of my mind is ignited. And then the whole thing just kind of comes out, if my flame has been put out, and then just sort of kind of just shuts it down. And so the way there was something, as I was listening to the song, it kept pulling me back and forth. And I really got hung on that moment where he says, my mind is ignited, and just kicks everything off. And I found myself just sort of deconstructing the song from there. So anyway, this is the song I keep coming back to.
Yeah, that's very poetic song. And this is the one that I had picked out where I thought the lyrics very closely matched that picture on the front. I don't know which one came first. Maybe the picture inspired the song, or vice versa. I'm not sure. But yeah, there are... he talks about the orange and red flames, which you see on the front of the album. And yeah, you're right. The peaks and troughs, the dynamic changes throughout the song are really strong, really pronounced, and well handled. I thought it sounds good as well, well mixed. And the other thing, perhaps. The only thing to add on top of what you've said is that I really like the guitar solo, and a lot of the guitar solos throughout the album. They're not widdly-diddly, super fast guitar solos, but they're very tuneful. And there's a sort of uplifting nature to the guitar solos, I think. They bring you up a bit often, and it's often towards the end of the song. So I really like the solo in this one in particular, but also throughout the album.
One of my notes that I skipped over was, we haven't used soaring in a while. The guitar solo in the last minute and a half of the song has sort of this soaring quality to it.
Yeah.
I like uplifting.
Yeah, and it's a nice counterpoint to the sort of doomier sounds they have. So yeah, there's a video for this as well. There's 3 videos, I think. I haven't seen the video to this one. I did see the video to the opener, but we'll put links to the videos in the show notes. eventually. Listen, sometimes takes a while, but we'll get there. But yeah, good nomination for Killer, and probably would have been my second pick had there been some rule about nominating the Killer as the opener.
No rules.
No rules on this show.
Chaos reigns on Unshuffled.
That's the only rule. Okay. Did any song in particular grow on you?
Yes.
Because as always, we've had a little while with this album. I've been to Australia and back, and it's been a little while.
It did for me. Do you want to start this one, though?
No, you go. You go.
Okay. For me, it was Signals, track 3.
Okay.
We've just
1, 2,
right
3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And it's this one, I really like the second half of the song. They sort of, that second half of the song, they kind of fall into some really cool melodies that again run against that drop whatever tuning they're using. Each time I listened to it, I kept picking up different sort of levels and layers. There's sort of a subdued atmospheric nature. There's these prolonged moments of quietness. And then again, I think the lyrics are kind of exploring sort of that internal conflict, that sort of looking for clarity against darkness. And I feel that the lyrics, again, match the music.
Yeah, great vocal performance on that song again. Well, my nomination for my grower is the very next track. It's called Endless Place, and this is the 10-minute 39 one that I mentioned briefly earlier. And maybe that's why it took a while to... These 10-minute plus songs can be a bit daunting, to queue up and press play on. There's something... you got to commit to it at that point. So maybe that's why it didn't instantly grab me, just the length of the song. But once I'd listened to the sax solo, that sort of piqued my interest. Not the first time I've encountered sax on Unshuffled. We heard a little bit of saxophone on one of the Ghost albums. This will test your memory. Was it prequel? I think it might have been prequel.
It was yes, because the last there were two where we had the same. Yes, it was prequel.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. You're not the only one who remembers stuff. But yeah, I love this. Is apparently some other guy from Little Rock as well. It's just a local sax guy, not Kenny G or anyone famous. And it's just a beautiful sax bit. It's a lovely touch, fits the music well. And it leads into then, after the sax solo, some of the heaviest, doomiest riffing on the album. And, perhaps this gentler style is not for everyone. That's throughout this album. I've seen one or two reviews that pining for the old days where they're a more traditional doom metal band. But every now and then they do really doom out on this album still. And towards the end of Endless Place is one of those times. And for that reason, it really grew on me. So, great song up to the sax solo. And then after that, just some crushing doom to keep us old metalheads happy.
So Endless Place is going to come up. I'm going to hold off on that one. It's going to come up in two categories that we have remaining.
Okay.
So
filler is one of them. It's not your filler, is it?
It's not my filler. It's my standout moment and my what were they thinking.
Right. Okay.
So So I'll hold it until then. So I feel like I cop out on filler.
You're allowed to.
I don't have a filler. I mean, it's 6 songs.
6 good songs.
6 good songs. I didn't feel like there was a filler.
No, I agree with you there. I do have a song I've listened to a lot less than the others, but it's still a good song. It's just, again, it's the second. It's called With Disease, the last track. Normally, pretty much just because after 5 long, epic tracks, maybe a 6th becomes a bit too much to commit to. So, but yeah, the times that I haven't listened to it, it's been great. And it's got another really heavy bit towards the end. So I can't quite call it filler, but yeah, I'll probably listen to it half as much as, say, the first track.
And it has nothing to do with the song. It's just the placement of the song.
Yeah, it's a long song at the end of an already excellent but long album.
So listeners aren't going to be interested in this at all, but I've switched, as I was telling you, that I switched to now I do digital notes. I do all my notes on my iPad instead
They'll
of
be
handwriting
fascinated.
them.
We'll
Well,
do a
but
separate podcast on this.
here's where I've just found the downfall to that. Somehow all my notes for the last song are deleted.
That's
So
all right.
I'm
It's got a
glad we're not
heavy
talking
bit at
about.
the end.
Yeah. Shoot. All right. Well, I got to figure that out. Okay. So that takes us to standout moment.
Standout moment, yeah.
So my standout moment is the sax break in Endless Place. And my thought on that is I had sort of this bias where, and maybe it was St. Elmo's Fire, maybe it was Lost Boys, I'm not sure, but I didn't want saxophone in my metal. I didn't want it there, and it had a place and it wasn't there. Ghost sort of got me over that, right? Because I enjoyed what Ghost did with it, but even then it felt it was all just in fun. Whereas this one, it's not fun, right? And I enjoyed it. I find myself going back to that sax solo and finding myself thinking, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they put that there, but I'm glad they did. It's awesome. I like it. And so, yeah, my standout moment is the sax break on Endless Place.
Yeah, good choice. No surprises. I'm going back to the very first song on the album for my standout moment as well. So that's been the opener killer and standout moment for me. Really cutting down on my workload here. But in particular, the big finish, the Feel My Head Going Under bit at the end of that is my highlight of the album. And
there was an EP before this album was released, and they called it an EP, and maybe that was just because of the length. It really consisted of Endless Place and Where the Light Fades.
Didn't know that.
And because when I was listening to this album, I was like, where have I heard these songs? And I realized that the EP came out maybe a month or so before the album was dropped, and I had listened to the songs.
I remember when the album came out, they released it on the internet with a sort of listening party. I tuned in for a couple.
Oh.
Huh. Back in the day, back in 2024. Good old days.
Good God. Man, things have changed. So, which brings us to What Were They Thinking?
Thanks for keeping us moving here, Scott. Yes, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
And I think, here's my thing.
Is it the sax solo again?
It's not the sax solo. And this is more of a me problem than a Pallbearer problem. And you had sort of touched on it.
No one likes to hear that at the start of a comment.
I think I might have this adult onset ADHD. Basically, it's the 10-minute long songs. I find myself, I just kept getting lost in the songs. I would forget what I'm doing. My mind was going all over the place. I kind of got lost in those long songs. And there were moments where I would come back in and be like, are we still in the same song here? What's going on? And then I would have to go back and listen again. And there was a lot of starting and restarting on sort of those longer songs. It's a me problem. It's not a Pallbearer problem. The songs are good. I just found myself getting lost and
it is a long time to focus.
Really distracted.
Takes some work. 10 minutes plus is a big ask. And 2 on the same album can be a little daunting. I think that's why I just didn't listen to that last song as much for that reason. But they are still good when you invest and when you can focus.
Absolutely.
Can be a challenge though. What were they thinking? It's the font for me on the CD. What were they thinking? I've bought this bloody thing. I can't read a word on it. Yellow's fine. It doesn't have to be. Yellow's part of a flame. Why go to the darkest part of the spectrum? Anyway.
I'd ask you to design the CD, but you can't.
And what were they thinking? basically comes down to your inability to concentrate and my inability to read or to see.
The theme of this podcast is we're old.
We're getting old, folks. It's true. All right. I do still go to gigs, though, and I'll talk about a couple that I went to after we get through. We got another category there.
Yep, we have notable lyrics, and for me, you're talking about cutting corners, but there are only 6 songs. My notable lyrics, I'm going back to My Mind Is Ignited. Just that was the one that sort of really kind of pulled me in and had me dissect and do a deep dive. And that's from Mine Burns Alive, track 2.
Yep. Mine is from the one track we haven't really discussed yet, which is Daybreak, which was also growing on me too, I've got to say. Maybe it's my post-grower. The lyrics right throughout are very good, pretty much on the same theme. This is about sort of sadness, despair, mental illness. So some pretty hefty lyrics throughout. In particular, this one, Daybreak, stood out. On the day I break, just sweep the pieces all away and let them scatter. I don't need an after. Which, I don't know, just very poetic and captured the sort of mood of the album, or the lyrics throughout the album at least. For me, so that was my choice.
If we had notable bass riffs, I would also pick Daybreak.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about that in my Van Brown, though.
A couple of times on this album, the bass really came through and had a nice... It was very well mixed, but you could certainly hear the bass throughout the album.
It sounds like he's playing a fretless. I'm not sure though, but there's that the way that in that song in particular, he's kind of the ways it sounds like he's just sort of sliding up and down the neck.
I'm not sure. You can see he's based on the film clips. I can't remember if it had frets or not though. That's some research we can do after the show. What else we got?
Ben Brownlow.
Ah, yes.
Ben Brownlow.
I hope you've still got. Hope you haven't deleted the votes.
Oh, I got it right here. Okay. This is what I live for.
Yeah. This is
the most exciting part of every episode.
Yeah. The point where I make it up on the spot. My 3 votes, I'm going to jump in because the vocalist gets my 3 votes here. You can help with names as we go.
Got it.
He also plays guitar. What's his name?
Oh, you want me to actually tell you? Brett Campbell.
That's him. That's him. And it's always the vocalist. One of the lessons of Unshuffled has been the band member that tends to change and evolve and improve the most throughout a band's career is generally the vocalist. And he was never a bad vocalist, but he's just now got the confidence to just put the spotlight on himself and just step up and sing, which is great. I don't know where I'm going to go for my 2. So he was my best on ground anyway, and the clear standout. I think I'll go with the bass player for the second vote. 2 votes.
All right. Joseph Rowland.
Just because he really has a lovely rumbling sound, and the heavy riffs, a lot of the heaviness is coming through in the bass and the rhythm section. So he gets the 2. And speaking of rhythm section, love a doom drummer, and it's subtle and understated, but very powerful. And I really like the sound of the kid as well, so I'll give the drummer 1 vote for this.
By the way, because I have this documented, that's exactly how you voted back during Foundations of Burden.
Wow, what are the chances?
If anybody's interested. All right. I went ahead and so my 3 votes, my best on ground was Joseph Rowland, and not just because he plays bass. I do like the way the bass comes out, but he wrote my favorite track on the album. So that's a Joseph Rowland song, and so I needed some way to distinguish because I was leaning Brett Campbell, and I'm like, it's got to be one of these 2 guys. And so the fact that he wrote "Mine Burns Alive" that put him up and over. And whatever it is, if he's playing a fretless on Dave, I don't know. That gives him extra points. Whatever. So my 3 is Joseph Rowland.
I like the fact that you're including songwriting as well as the performance in your votes. That's probably something I should consider more.
See?
I like it.
My 2 vote goes to Brett Campbell. It was close, like 2.9. And then my 1 vote is Mark Lairley, the drummer.
Okay. Cool. Running totals?
Running totals. We've got Joseph Rowland is ahead by 3.
Oh.
And that's you, by the way. If I go back here, you were the one giving him the 3 votes for
Really?
just lest anybody think I'm giving bass bias. It was you giving him all that love for the last 2 albums.
Have picked that. Would not have picked that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lucky you've got this so well documented. All right, so Band Brownlow's done. Have you got some overall thoughts on the album?
I like this one. I was going back actually, and I was looking at just the first album because this is sometimes with some of these bands they change so dramatically from the first album to the most recent album, and Pallbearer is one of them. And some of the reviews I remember reading was that there were several like music magazines and whatnot that were voting that first album to be #1 metal album of the year. I like this album better. And I'm wondering, would those same organizations vote for this one to be best album of the year? And I don't suppose they would, just because it's not as sort of categorically doomy as that first album. But I really like this album. I think this is probably my favorite Pallbearer album.
I mean, one of the questions I had for you was, do you think it's even doom at all?
So I was going to bring that up earlier. I don't know if it is. I don't know if that drop whatever tuning keeps it doom, or if they've just sort of that's where they started and they've kind of just taken and gone beyond that, which good on them.
I mean, there are some doomy moments,
right?
But they're pretty few and far between, really.
Mm-hmm.
You might get the last minute or two of a 10-minute song might be doomy, but you went through a lot of non-doomy stuff to get there. I think they're probably closer to post-rock at this, like heavy post-rock at this point.
Yeah, I agree. When you had mentioned what you talked about, was it Russian Circles? I was just like, oh yeah, that's kind of where they're going. I agree.
With a few little vestiges of their doomy past, but I think they always probably had. They seem very ambitious, and I think they've always struck me as the sort of band that would try and grow into something new and experiment with different styles. So yeah, I'm all for bands doing this, and I think we've still got. If you like their doomy stuff, it's still there.
Oh yeah, you've got 4 albums worth.
Yeah, and you've got the whole transition. You can sort of pick where you are on the doom versus post-rock spectrum, and chronologically, and put yourself wherever you like. I quite like this end of the spectrum, though. I like this post-rock stuff, and I think it's a bit more interesting. Doom's fun and heavy, and just bop your head to, but I think this is ultimately a little more challenging and a little more rewarding. So I like this style.
I was going back and listening to, I think, Forgotten Days and trying to figure out, was there any indication that they were going to go this direction? Because sometimes you kind of hear sort of bands kind of, and I didn't hear it. Like, I feel like this album's a pretty clean, if this is a new direction, it might not even be. It might just be kind of a one-off thing. But this album felt like a pretty clean start.
It's definitely a jump. I would say they were still pointing in this way. This is just a bit of an upward leap. But I still think they were heading in a more proggy and emotional direction right throughout. So, yeah. But this is definitely a leap for sure. And good on them. I think, I really like a band that takes risks and tries something new. I think it's great. Interesting to see where they go next.
Agreed.
And who knows when that will be. They're touring at the moment. I think they're in the US, and I think they're going to be in Europe at some. They have been in Europe actually. In fact, my good friend Cedric, who is also listens to the podcast, was good. He saw them in Luxembourg and was good enough to get a CD signed by the band, the Heartless. So I've got a little memento of them Thanks to Cedric.
Oh, that's awesome. Shout out to Cedric.
Yeah, but never made it to Lisbon, unfortunately. Unlike some other bands that have made it to Lisbon recently.
Well, let's hear.
Nothing more to say on the album we've been doing. So yeah, look, just quickly, we do like to talk gigs, and we did get an email we've got to talk about too. The gigs were Graveyard, who were excellent, and supported by a local band called Miss Lava, who I've been wanting to see for a long time. Fun night. Ghost, who we can probably be the one we talk about in detail because we've done them. And King Lizard and the blah, blah, blah. King Lizard and the Gizzard Wizard, or whatever the hell they are. From my hometown in Melbourne, who put on a really good performance. I saw them on the third night of 3 consecutive gigs here in Lisbon, and they were excellent. But Ghost is probably the one you're most interested in.
Me, yeah. Well, you sent me. It looked awesome. You looked like, I mean, you were sending me the set list, and you and your lovely wife went, and it just looked like a great time.
Yeah,
and you converted her. She's a Ghost fan now.
Yeah, she loves them. It was a great stage show. Very entertaining. Very different. Normally, I like a little smaller venue with a. This was very much big buck production and filled out a reasonable sized stadium here in Lisbon. But very well put together. The stage show was great, and the band were just spot on, like really good. They've got so many hits, so many fun live songs, and the crowd were great as well. So yeah, just a really good gig. I'll put a link to the set list from that night on the show notes. But good fun. Highly recommend them if you get a chance to see them. And great sound among all, above all else, just the sound. They really pride themselves. I think he's really worked hard on writing songs that are suited to big stadiums, and then I've clearly put a lot of money into getting the right sound out of their setup. Sounds great. Impressive.
Awesome. I don't. Unfortunately, I don't know. I have a hard time finding the concerts that come to Japan. I catch them when they're gone.
You've seen plenty since you've been there.
I have. But I know that there are more sort of indie bands that are coming, and I'm just looking in the wrong places. And so, like, every now and then I'll go on this. I'll just hit the bit, like Pallbearer, for instance. I was looking at theirs and I don't know that they've ever played Japan, to be quite honest with you. I did see though that tonight's their last show in Europe, and they head to the U.S. After tonight. They're playing in Berlin, and then that's it. They're out.
That's some really good support bands as well. I think Resin were playing a few gigs with them as well. The one that Cedric went to, they were like third on the bill. I think Graveyard might have been the headliner that night.
Oh yeah, okay.
And there was another band as well that were ahead. I think they were like playing at the when they're just opening the doors at the start, which seems strange to me. That's such a good band.
Yeah, I'm looking now to see, are they headlining where they're at? I can't find it. Never mind. It's Desert Fest, so no. It looks like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, that'd be good actually.
Is it Desert Fest or Dessert Fest?
Either would be good.
It's Desert Fest. Whoever does the writing on their webpage is the same person that did the font on their damn CD, because I could barely read it.
Newfangled internet thing.
Oh, wait, I'm here. I'm on have we lost interest? Because I'm on the Desert Fest lineup.
Hit us with it.
Oh my gosh. Man, it's busy. 10,000 Years, Black Elephant, I've heard of, but I don't know them. Castle Rat, I don't know them, but that's an awesome name, and they look awesome. Dope Lord.
Ah, yes.
Earth.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. We got to add Castle Rat to our list. I don't know what's going on here, but
All right.
that looks awesome. Sorry, Earth. Frog Lord also looks
Frog
awesome.
Lord.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Green milk from the planet Orange.
All right. These are more obscure bands than I expected.
Yeah. Lowrider.
Lowrider, yes.
Pallbearer. Man, this is like a crazy lineup. Like it's just it seems all sorts of Scott Heppel and the Sun Band. Got like a hippie vibe going on.
Who are all these bands?
I don't know. Yeti, but Yeti, two eyes. Oh, Zeal and Ardor are playing as well.
Oh, there you go. We've spoken about them in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah, yeah. Huh. There's like, man, I'm just going to this site for our next list.
We've got
Like
a few.
who's Dope Lord? How do I not know them? I should know
Yeah, I
Dope
think
Lord.
they're from Eastern Europe somewhere, like Poland or something.
The here's the tagline. There used to be Doom, now there's Dope Lord. That's awesome.
All right, put them on the list for.
All right.
Well, we've got a few things to get through
Yeah, we do.
before we even think about that. In fact, look, there's two more things we've got to do. So there's an email I've got to read out. Love getting emails. So I'll do that now, and then we'll decide what we're going to do next. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good. Sounds perfect.
All right. I got we mentioned the last time we did was Abrams, and we spoke about Blues Funeral Recordings, which was their new label. And we sort of fumbled about trying to find some facts about Blues Funeral and their connection to Meteor City, an old album label. And we kind of got there, but just got a little bit more detail from Jad, who's the manager of, or the owner of Blues Funeral Records. So he just said, I heard you mention Meteor City, and I'd figure I'd offer some quick insight. As you may know, I founded Meteor City and All That's Heavy with my best friend and partner in 1997. They sold All That's Heavy to stonerrock.com in 2002. We spoke about that website. We have spoken about that in the past. And then they sold Meteor City to them in 2008. And they did release 3 records from the Atomic Pitchwax on Meteor City. Spit Blood, which we didn't do because it was an EP. 3, which we did do. And Box Riff, which is also an EP and live recording. So the only one of those that we covered in detail was 3. Split Blood, I think we qualified as an EP.
We did.
Even though it's got quite a few. It's probably a little bit longer than your average EP. And then he said he exited music for a few years, started making his way back around 10 years ago, writing reviews and so on. He joined Magnetic Eye Records in 2016 as label director, and then he decided he wanted his own label again, so launched Blues Funeral Recordings in 2018, and does both of those things in parallel. So yeah, he's got a long history in this business, and there was an Atomic Pitchwax album on his original label. So thanks, Jad, for clearing all that up. Blues Funeral, an excellent label. If you're looking for some good bands, highly recommend it, as well as Small Stone, who are another of our favourite labels. Anyway, that's the email. You send an email, I read it out. That's the rule.
That's okay. I guess there are rules on Unshuffled.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only one. All right. And the other thing we have to do before I bid you farewell and let you go and enjoy your day is decide what we're going to do next. Because the other thing about Ghost that I didn't mention about the tour was they've released a new album. And so I've already heard a couple of songs off the new album live. But yeah, there's a whole new album from Ghost, which is, I don't know about you, but it's always exciting for me. So that's one option. Or we've also got All Them Witches waiting for us to finish off as well. And it's been a little while, but the last album of theirs we did was excellent. I'm very much looking forward to getting back to them. So I'm happy either way. What are your thoughts?
I would Honestly, I'm really kind of looking forward to getting back into All Them Witches.
Cool.
I'm 100% keen on really kind of diving into Ghost, but I'd also like to kind of just wrap up All Them Witches.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I think coming into the warmer months, I think they'll make a nice little soundtrack for the little runway into summer here that is always such a nice time of year. So I'm happy to go with All Them Witches. All right. So just so the listeners know, the next album that you guys should listen to, if you're following along with us at home, is what, Scott?
Sleeping Through the War.
Sleeping Through the War, which was released in, as we all know,
2017.
Excellent. All right. So that's what you and I have to look forward to, and our listeners. But I have enjoyed this one. But yeah, I don't know. Ready to move on. Ready to go back to All Them Witches. Good choice. Well done. Okay. Let's wrap things up. This has been Unshuffled. You can check out our website, unshuffledpod.com, for show notes when I get around to them. You can email us, as Jad did. Thank you, Jad. Our email is unshuffledpod@gmail.com. We've also got a Blue Sky account somewhere. I don't know. You'll find it. We'll link it. Quick thank you to Small Stone. I mentioned them earlier. The song that you hear at the start and the end is called Vanguard. The band is called Seven Planets, and the album is called Explorer. Thank you, Small Stone. And thank you, Scott. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener.